Thank goodness we got folks like Dinesh D Souza with sort of a calm, rational approach. His podcast, I think, is number one worldwide. If you go to mikeonline.com, you can see the Dinesh D Souza podcast. He's an author, he's a filmmaker, he's, of course, a political commentator, and he is back with us here on the Mike Gallagher Show, joining us on Skype. Dinesh, it's been a while. Happy New Year, my friend.
And to you too. It's always so much fun to be on your show, so I'm thrilled to be back.
Well, congratulations on all the great things that are happening in Team Dinesh D Souza world, because man, oh man, your podcast, it is a must listen to. People are all over it, and we're excited to be partnering with you. I know that you've helped kick off our podcast platform here at the Salem Media Group. So congratulations on all the success. Dinesh, we've got so much to start with and to talk about. Let me just start with the way the media. I want to play a clip for you, just a little taste of what the news media has done with regards to Andrew Cuomo during the course of this awful, awful time that the world has been suffering through this pandemic. Here's the way the journalists have responded to Cuomo's leadership in New York.
We're grateful that across the country there are responsible leaders who are stepping up. One of them provided clear direction and memorable PowerPoints. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo.
I heard, though, that you had a crush on our boyfriend, Andrew Cuomo.
Dude, everyone does, right? I think he's fantastic.
You know Cuomo. He even had a 70% approval rating in April with Republicans. Why? Because he was leading.
Even lifelong Republicans tell me, they look at Cuomo and they're like, God, there's a leader.
Governor Cuomo, who has been a leader in calling for science-based ways to fight this coronavirus. The Academy says that he's being recognized for, quote, his leadership during the COVID pandemic and his masterful use of television to inform and calm people around this world.
Tonight, what we can see from Democrats, especially someone like
Dinesh, I mean, we learned yesterday that his actions, led to thousands of coronavirus deaths in the state of New York. They were underreporting the coronavirus deaths from nursing homes by 50%, and it was his policy that sent seniors to their deaths in the nursing homes. I mean, what a time we're living in that's the way the media has handled Governor Andrew Cuomo.
I think that is just symptomatic of the fact that we're living in you could almost call it a world of alternative reality.
Yeah.
So there's the world around us, and then there's the picture of the world that we get through the media, and you just have to kind of match them up. I was talking to a guy, a business guy, who made a very, I think, striking comment to me about media. He goes, I'm in a very specialized field, and whenever I read articles in the media about my field, he said, they are always completely wrong. He goes, but you know what's strange, Dinesh? He goes, I myself assume that when the media is covering something else, like climate change or Afghanistan, that they're getting it right. Yet, what a ridiculous assumption. If in the one area where I actually know what's going on, I can see that they're making stuff up, they're distorting the truth, they're telling sometimes the opposite of the truth, I should legitimately assume that this is always the case. And I think we all have that sickening feeling that much of what we're told in, quote, public information by the media is, in fact, not only not true, it's the very opposite of the truth.
Yeah. I worry about the apathy that is born from the numbness that we're all developing. We become numb to the craziness. This week, one of Biden's new climate, injustice czars pronounced that climate change is the single biggest public health challenge we face. Even using those words. Now, I don't know about you, there's a little thing called coronavirus that I think is a bit more of a public health challenge than climate change, but we're numb to it, Dinesh. We hear stuff like that, and it's like it goes in one ear and out the other.
So this is, I would call it the Dinesh D Souza podcast approach of looking at this. Far from being numb, I actually start looking at this with a real skeptical and I would say even an historical eye. In the ancient world, the Persian king Xerxes, when he was trying to launch a massive invasion of Greece, he had to cross this huge river, the Hellespont, which is now sort of the Dardanelles. In any event, the river was giving him all kinds of trouble. So when he got to the other side, he ordered his soldiers to whip the river. They pulled out their lashes and they gave the river 300 lashes. Why? Because he was angry with the water. He wanted to control the river. And the river was, you may say, misbehaving. Now, in a way, think of how that resembles the idiocy of climate change. I mean, these climate busters, so-called, they couldn't change 1 square mile of temperature around you. They can't control the weather outside. The idea that they can control the weather of the earth? Seriously? I mean, this is a subject of comedy.
It seems beyond satire. There's days when I just ask myself, there's this phrase gaslighting that has become very popular based on a play where you make the other person think that they're crazy and that you know they're having to doubt their own sanity based on the outrageous things you're saying. It feels like they're gaslighting us every single day. I was watching the performance of Jen Psaki. Let me play another one of these super clips, which is really comical because Kayleigh McEnany, Sean Spicer, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretaries for Donald Trump were just eviscerated. Every day it was like every single day it was screeching and screaming and confrontational. Trump tried to hold these COVID-19 briefings and they always devolved into, you know, Acosta trying to outdo Yamiche and they're all screaming at each other. But listen to this montage, Dinesh, just quick 30 seconds of the White House press secretary that, not unlike Andrew Cuomo, the national media is just enamored with. They think she's doing a great job.
I'll circle back if there's more I can share with you. But I'll circle back with you if there's more to convey. I'll have to just circle back with you. We can circle back with you. I'm happy to circle back with you. I can circle back. I will have to circle back on that one. That's an excellent question. Oh, such an important question. We will circle back with you, and we'll circle back with you. It's an interesting question, but we'll circle back. I'm happy to circle back, but I'll have to circle back with you on it. It's a good question, but we'll circle back with you on this today. We will certainly circle back with you more directly. I hate to disappoint you, but I will have to circle back with you on that as well.
Dinesh, the White House press secretary, is off to a great start.
Well, there's a couple of things going on here. First of all, you know, she doesn't seem to really know anything, so she has to keep circling back. But the other thing is, notice the familiar tone. She can assume that these people in the room are on her side. It's almost like within the family. Hey, Mom, what's going on over there? I'm going to circle back to you, dear. So they're on the same side. They're cozy with each other. And so you get the idea that in the Biden administration, we're really not going to have a real press. In other words, if you think of the media as applying a kind of critical check on the government, no, this is not the case. By and large, you're going to get this is almost sort of like going to church, in which you sort of have the message is given and everybody nods appreciatively. That's the mood I sense now in the Biden press room.
Let's talk about your podcast. Dinesh D Souza is with us. His podcast is available on all podcast platforms. You're having phenomenal success, and I've seen some of the metrics and how many people are loving it. You've got to be thrilled with the response that your podcast is receiving after all the years you've done with books and with films. This podcast world is a brave new world, but one that you seem to be mastering quite successfully, Dinesh.
You know, the funny thing is I kind of got into it sort of reluctantly. My wife, Debbie, was like, you should do a podcast. You should think about doing a podcast. But, you know, Mike, I mean, I was on the road half-time doing a lot of speaking, meeting with investors for movies. It literally was physically impossible. So ironically, that for me, a silver lining of COVID and being kind of confined has been, you know what? I can now push in this entrepreneurial direction. And a lot of the stuff I did before, my books, my speeches, even my filmmaking, because a lot I cut into the podcast clips from my various films. So I'm sort of it brings out my personality, and I think also my breadth. The podcast will do a little Christian apologetics, a little history, a little philosophy. I'm trying to make it a learning podcast, not just the kind of podcast where you listen and you go, oh, wow, I agree with that guy, but rather, oh, wow, I never thought of that. Oh, man, I should go read this book.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a podcast that not only reflects the world, but kind of deepens one's understanding of it.
Well, it's must listen for me, and I'm thrilled to have you on the team officially now with the Salem platform. It's available on all podcasts. Our listeners can go to mikeonline.com. You'll see Dinesh's big smiling face on the right-hand side there, and get part of join the party. Dinesh, keep fighting the good fight. It's great checking in with you. We'll check in again real soon, okay?
Thank you. My pleasure, Mike. Thank you.
Take care. All the best.